Running out of fun things to say in the beginning, but it has been 5 weeks of NBA basketball. Hey, everybody, it is Braxton from Angle here with the Week 6 buy and sell. So glad you can join us the week before, or the week of Thanksgiving, I should say. And let's just jump right into the buy and sell. My top buy for this week is going to be, and I know a lot of people are talking about him, Moussa Diabate. So for those who don't know, I am a huge Hornets fan. I've watched every Hornets game this year. Moussa Diabate might be, if not one of the best offensive rebounders, he might be one of the best rebounders in the league right now. It is absurd what he's doing on the boards, and without him, the Hornets would not be competitive. Grant Williams just went down for the year with the torn ACL. Nick Richards and Mark Williams seem to be making some progress, but there's still going to be some time before they return. It's just amazing seeing what Diabate is doing at his size. He's 6'9", 210. In terms of his fantasy game, he's mainly just boards, but over the last 2 weeks, he's ranked number 113 in 9 category. He's giving you a little bit of field goal percentage, albeit it's super low volume. You know, he had that game recently with 1 point and 16 rebounds. That's kind of like his ceiling. I'd be amazed if he gets anything close to a double-double. But he's also contributing over 1 steal per game and at 1.1 and over 1 block per game at 1.3. He's definitely somebody that should be rostered for the next week or two, especially with Miles Bridges going down. We're going to see a lot of Tijon Salon as well as Moussa Diabate until this team starts to get a little more healthy. The Hornets do have a 4-game week next week, so he's a pretty elite stream in my opinion, especially for anybody who needs big man stats, obviously. And depending on when Richards and Williams return, Mark Williams, that is, he could be a hold beyond this week. So Diabate is somebody I'm really liking. In dynasties, it's very possible you may have missed the boat already. In shallower, in 10 team or below, maybe even some, excuse me, shallower, like as in 12 team or below in dynasty leagues. He may be on the wire, and he's definitely somebody I would look to pick up and just see what happens. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if he retains any kind of role when Richards and Williams are healthy. But for now, definitely somebody you want to ride until the wheels fall off. So number 2 is going to be Malcolm Brogdon. It's interesting seeing that the Wizards are going to be starting him right now. As long as he maintains this role, to me, it seems like he's a nice speculative pickup. He's already played a back-to-back, so it doesn't seem like the Wizards are going to be resting him for those for the time being. He's probably free in your redraft league. He's only rostered in 28% of leagues, although he is trending up right now in terms of ads. And he is super cheap in dynasty leagues, as he usually is year in, year out, just because of his injury history. And I'm not saying he's going to go and have the healthiest season of his career from not career, but just in recent memory from this point on. He's probably is going to get hurt again, but for contenders or people who are just competing, definitely somebody I'm really liking right now as a cheap grab, and just use that production while it's there. I don't think he's going to be playing come fantasy playoff time. If he does, good for him. Maybe he gets traded to a contender and takes a much smaller role. But as long as he's starting for this Wizards team, I think he's really interesting. He's going to get you those points, splash of rebounds, some assists, just the typical guard stats, splash of steals, maybe maybe 0.8 to 1 is kind of his ceiling there. Free throw is going to be elite. Just not really something that's going to hurt you anywhere. Doesn't have the most upside, but in competitive 12-team redrafts, definitely somebody that you'd want to scoop just because if you don't, then somebody else will, and he's probably going to be good enough to contribute. Now, conversely, Bub Carrington is also a buy for me, which is kind of an interesting dynamic there. So I'm not now I am buying him, but what I'm not buying is that Bub is useless now, and I don't like the mass exodus of drops in redraft leagues. I think he's somebody that still needs to be rostered, and he has shown the ability to contribute in all categories. And he's a major youth piece on this terrible Wizards team. So, his assist upside is not something you're going to be able to find on the waiver wire. Um, and if you're not liking Brogdon or kind of want to bet against Brogdon, this is definitely the way to do it. He's down to 20% owned on Yahoo. That's ridiculous to me. And I talked a little bit about this last week, but when you see guys like Scoot Henderson, very highly rostered, I believe it's between 40 and 50. I don't have the number in front of me right now, but I'd rather have somebody like Bub Carrington who has shown something compared to guys who have that higher roster percentage that it's a little bit late in the season now to be like clinging on to guys who have not panned out from your draft or like kind of factoring in that draft capital in redraft leagues. At this point, I would go ahead and just make the swap. I do realize Bub has had a couple duds since Brogdon has returned, but I'm not buying, like I said, that he's going to be useless at this point. And I expect him to bounce back very shortly. So my next buy is going to be Jake LaRavia. Jake LaRavia has really been on the heat over the last 2 weeks. He's ranked number 78 in 9 category leagues, and he's contributing in literally every category. I can't believe more people aren't talking about him right now. 9 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, which is really interesting to me. 49% shooting, and then 93% from the line on over 2 attempts per game. And here's what's really cool: 1.1 steals and 1.4 blocks per game. It's really absurd what he's doing right now. He's only rostered in 10% of Yahoo leagues. It's just, I don't understand why. He's got those out of position assists. He's contributing the steals and the blocks. The splash of scoring, obviously, it's not a ton of scoring, right? But all of the counting stats are there, and there's not really any of the downside of the bad field goal or the usually when you see guys who rack up counting stats like this, they kind of have like a negative side where whether that be high turnovers, bad field goal, Josh Giddey, something like that, right? But LaRavia really is contributing everywhere. I mean, I recognize that Marcus Smart has been out sick recently, but Smart has been really bad this year, and his minutes have been way down. I'm not terribly concerned with his imminent return. LaRavia has been is playing, more of the four at this point, while Smart obviously is playing guard. And I don't know if that's going to affect him a ton when Smart does return. Now, it is very possible they kind of shift everybody up a little bit, but until Smart shows anything, it's not really something I'm concerned about. LaRavia's minutes have been kind of low, so like he's at 21 minutes per game, which is not, ideal, and this could be why he's not rostered in more leagues. Is that, and Ty Jerome is somebody I talked about last week with the low minutes. You're kind of banking on him to hit his like almost ceiling every night when he's playing those low minutes. But, to this point, he's been doing it. And with the Grizzlies having 4 games this next week, I definitely would go out and get him. And at least until Ja returns, it's very possible. Like I said, just because of where he is in the lineup, Vince Williams just went down with another major injury. GG Jackson is still a ways away from returning. And Zach Edey, obviously LaRavia doesn't play center, but Zach Edey with the rolled ankle, freeing up some minutes in the front court there. When Ja returns, I do expect LaRavia to take a little bit of a hit, but it's very possible that he's still rosterable in competitive 12-team leagues, especially if he's doing like these steals and this blocks thing. It's pretty absurd. The percentages should stick. And in competitive leagues, it doesn't take a lot to be rostered. He definitely needs to be rostered in anything deeper than 12, 100%. And it's possible that he's flying under the radar in dynasty leagues right now, especially if it's like a 12-team dynasty league or maybe a 10-teamer. Definitely somebody, if he's on your waiver wire for some reason, definitely go grab him in a dynasty league and see what happens. It's also possible that the just depending on the league context, you may not be able to may not have to pay up that much for him, even in a deeper dynasty league. So definitely somebody I'm targeting in both free drafts and dynasty right now. So moving on to the sell. And just the one this week, it's going to be Jalen Duren. So, is he going to do anything besides rebound? He's ranked 176 over the last 2 weeks, and his minutes are really not where you'd like to see them at 26 per game. He's super harmful from the line at around 50% on 3 attempts per game. He's averaging under 1 block per game at 0.9, which would be good for some guys, but not somebody where you're looking to mainly get big man stats. Could be an okay time to jump ship in dynasty leagues based on name value, but I definitely don't recommend selling low. If you're selling in a dynasty league, probably try and wait for a hot stretch and see what he can pull in. But suddenly, to me, his long-term fit on this Detroit team is really concerning. Redraft, he's probably still a hold for now. But 10 team, you can probably drop safely for a free agent. And again, this is another one of those things where it's like the ownership percentage is at 96. And it's like, okay, how bad does he need to be for you to be like, okay, I'm going to drop him now and grab somebody that's can contribute more. It's just, usually when you how do I want to put this? If you have Jalen Duren, it's very likely that you picked him highly in the draft, right? And if you pick Jalen Duren highly or high, it's possible that your team is bad, right? So like there's kind of like this thing where it's like, okay, I'm waiting for him to bounce back. But meanwhile, you're losing and you're getting that terrible production from him. And you fall further and further down the standings. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply to everyone. It's very possible he's on some good fantasy teams, but if he is somebody that you're holding and your team is underperforming right now, like that's somebody you got to jump ship on. And grab like a Diabate or a Jake LaRavia. And I know that seems ridiculous and super drastic and maybe reactionary, but we've seen 5 weeks of this now, right? So like, at what point is it going to be like, enough for you to be like, all right, I'm getting out of here? Jabari Smith is another one who isn't really a sell from this week. He is kind of bouncing back a little bit, but I'm personally like an owner of Jabari Smith in one of my redrafts. And I was literally like, had claims to drop him in the next day. And then he hit that 28-point game. And it's kind of like this, uh, uh, you know, it's kind of a similar situation where like he's not really helping me a ton on a nightly basis, but it's like in my head, I need to be like, oh, okay, you know what? 4 points and 2 rebounds is not going to get it done. So I need to go ahead and drop him. And, it's very possible I do drop him. Again, Jabari Smith is not somebody I have as a drop right now. I think, at least with Jabari Smith, you kind of get like those threes and the blocks have been trending up a little bit, but Duren is just rebounds right now. He's not doing anything. The field goal isn't even, it's fine, right? But it's not good enough to like he's not like a Daniel Gafford where he's shooting like 70-75% on a nightly basis on decent volume, right? So you don't even have that going for you. So Duren, and also to add to that, the turnovers at 1.7. He's only averaging 2.4 assists. Anytime that assist to turnover ratio is close like that, it just further amplifies how negative an asset they can be in 9 category leagues or in leagues that count turnovers at least. So really concerned about him. JB Bickerstaff seems very concerned with winning, rightfully so, right? So he's not going to, the priority isn't necessarily to develop Duren at this point. And that's something that would be concerning to me as an owner. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. That is the week 6 buy and sell. Check us out check our website out at anglefantasybasketball.wordpress.com. Follow us on Twitter, AngleFantasyBB. Follow us on Bluesky as well, AngleFantasyBB on there as well. We're really liking Bluesky right now. It's really nice and it doesn't have all the downsides that Twitter does. So follow us on there. There'll be a link to that in the description. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching and talk to you guys next time. Thanks.